So, the next thing. The next thing now is, I don't think I can escape it. It is dashed lines, which isn't the end of the world at all. GUI classes is where they will go. GUI classes has these bits and pieces for drawing, for drawing things in a GUI style, sort of, with a GUI font, or using the GUI image and to the GUI canvas. Don't know why I said it like that. And I have this class gline, which can draw a line, or the reason it's a class is I can say gline draw, and it can make use of these bits and pieces. So I can just probably add something here, which is draw dashed, or just dashed actually. And it'll work similarly. And here I will just make another global called dim, and it will be, what will it be? Actually, this is where I start to have questions immediately. In general, go away G color. I have G material, and I must have G image. It just looks at G material. Right. So just to remind myself of this, GUI image is all this stuff and an init. And init sets these things. Okay. Does GUI image have a texture, maybe? No. It must have material, get texture. Oh no, you init it with a material. Oh boy, that's not very sensible of me. Okay. So do I want to put? I don't think I do. GUI image is about images. This, what I'm about to do, is about a material. Not the GUI image material that you pass in here, which is kind of stupid, really, to be fair. So, what's a better place? Where is a better place to put? Oh god, what is it? It's a material, so inside GUI. This is actually where this is going to get really, really quite annoying. Because GUI does need reworked. GUI is both instances of GUI, instances of gadget are gadgets, and everything else is also stored in gadget. I go through phases of doing this where I don't want to make an instance class, and then other phases where no, I'm fine to have an instance class, and I at this moment would be fine to have an instance class to get just called GUI with a whole bunch of this idiotic stuff in it. Anyway, there is material, shader and font, and all the images are drawn from the material. This can no longer strictly be the case. If I want to make this part of what is effectively GUI line, I need to have a place in the GUI for storing this type of material. And I think it's just going to be in Gadget. I hate it. But this is effectively, what I'm expanding upon when I add the dashed line is part of the GUI code, really. That's why it's in GUI classes. It was, GUI classes had a lot of stuff that's general. Now general has taken on a lot of stuff that was in GUI classes, but GUI G line remains a GUI function. So the GUI is going to get another material, and it's going to be called chessboard G material. And somewhere inside this delightful class is init. And there I get asset GUI pung. In fact, I think I do something. I import it here. And I don't mind saying I've absolutely forgotten. Like, there it is. But that's not where I put it, is it? When I look at the recursor directory in main data, images, GUI pung. But that's not it. Main data, I don't think main data is anything, because this is not. Like, that's an ancient version. If I look at recursor, main product, Windows, assets, GUI pung. Yeah, this is the up-to-date version of the GUI pung. All this rubbish is to do with my editor. It's sitting there, but it doesn't, well, the editor, the other piece of editor code I'm working on. So, what I need to think about is where on earth I put right, okay, it's sitting there with GUI. Okay, well, right, I'm going to stick chessboard in there too. And chessboard will look like this. I don't think this needs to be a big texture. I don't want it filtered, but I may regret it if I don't filter it. So bearing in mind that actually maybe I will filter it, I will make it a reasonable size. Yeah, well, it still doesn't need to be too big, I don't think. Let's say 64 by 64 means the squares are 32 pixels, so I would see a pixel of blur or whatever when they're bigger than 32 pixels. When I think about how big 100 pixels on the screen, that's quite small. But then this is for dashed lines and stuff. Nah, I'll make it 128 by 128. these created with GIMP? Ah, I don't suppose it matters. Okay, beautiful. And that little thing in the background is something like what I want to be seeing. So, how can I make it die? What I do is this. And just look for it getting to 64 by 64. Then I fill with white. Copy, paste. Ah, sorry. Copy, paste. And stick it there. Did I make a mistake? No. And that's it, pretty much. I hate this kind of thing. Documents, code, recursor, work. I will save this XCF for no good reason. Chess board. And then I will export it to cursor code GUI as a pong, and I'll call it chessboard pong. Is that an okay thing to do? Yeah. Never sure if I need any of these things. Background color, gamma, resolution, comment. Don't bother with a comment. Color values from transparent pixels. Well, why not? I mean, no, don't. Don't do. I don't know. Background color. Okay, I'd just go for it. And I'll have a little look. I shouldn't be able to see anything really, I suppose. Chessboard. Yep. White or transparent on white. 12 minutes. I'm going to pause for just a moment. Yeah. So, I'll leave that there for now. I may need it. But I'll also just, it's been so long since I looked at this, I'm assuming this is the sort of thing that works. Sboard.pong. And once that's imported, I can talk about it in init. And I say chess board equals new gmaterial asset chessboard.pong. Okay. And I'm going to assume that that's just there to access now. So in GUI classes, I just sidestep GUI image. That's not really to do with me now. Well, it is to do with me, but that aspect, it's not immediately. So I'm not using an image. The fact that I do assign this, don't I? So I do that just to save myself typing inside this function, so I'm not typing GUI image square many times. Right, yeah, okay, I'm just considering what I'm doing here, and this is CB chessboard G material equals gadget chessboard. And it's that I'm going to use in here. A lot of this is going to be the same. What this is doing is just figuring out the corners of a rectangle, a long thin rectangle of thickness, wherever it is, T. I'm looking at this and realizing I did want to compress this down into a single function call, and I did, you know. it worked. But it's also pretty hideous, for sure. And seeing as I'm already in the sort of, what do I call it? I've already got line inside a class. I could make this, I could simplify these by making at least, say, the color, thickness, color, and blend mode globals. Or no, yeah, well, globals, yeah. Which I set up through a function, or a set of functions. I'm going to do that, because then it's like you set up your line, you call a bunch of lines, and they can all be x, y, x, y. And the thickness, color, and blend mode are all dealt with, and maybe I would just leave last pixel as something you do pass with individual lines. I think that this feels like a plan. General working space. Quick links to assets, not assets, resources. They're not even resources either. These things all have specific words in many languages, I'm sure, Monkey included. And this is current line setup. And it includes thickness, float equals 1.0. I'm saying C. Bearing in mind that C is an unsigned int in this case, and is passed with every vertex. Getting passed with every vertex makes me... I guess I'll go for color. Passed with every... It's not a big deal passing that. Everything else has been cut down. Yeah. Color uint equals dosh 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Global blend mode. Bland mode. Blend mode equals blend mode alpha. And yeah, so also actually what I'll have is color 2 uint, which can equal dosh 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, f, f. I think I might have got that really right, quite the wrong way round. And dash length can start at 10, I suppose. Okay. Now, I use this a lot. Really, really a lot. And I'm not going to change this part of it. I want these here and I'm going to use them from now on in dashed, and I'm going to make another version of draw which will be called continuous or solid. Which will basically do the same thing as this, but we'll use these, and from now on I will basically make a choice that I might use these, or I might just do this, which I'll leave as it is, so it will completely sort of sidestep the internal values. That is weird. What on earth is GUI image line? I am really quite baffled by that. By 64. X, Y, width, height. Well. Okay, I am baffled by that. Anyway, I shouldn't get distracted, as I so easily am. I think maybe that is... I don't know, it's like us kind of... I have a feeling what I'm trying to avoid is filtering problems. When you draw great big long extruded triangles. I have a feeling that, yeah, and see here I've deliberately gone for an 8 by 8 square in this strange position. All of these have little borders, but most of them are 64 by 64. Here I've selected the square deliberately as a little kind of square in the middle, because I was finding this problem before. But I'm not going to interfere with it. I'm just going to persevere and see what my outcomes are like with the... Anyway, right here, I'll just take a copy of that. Except I will think about these things that I have, which is... right. I only need x1 float equals 0.0, y1 float equals 0.0, x2 equals 0.0, y2 float equals 0.0. Yeah, that can stay. LP equals false. L minus equals T, right? Okay, and I am going to pass LP bool equals true or false. I can never decide. I'll leave it true. L minus thickness x off equals thickness times 0.5. Do a bunch of that stuff and this stuff and that, then this and that. Yep. BM is actually blend mode, and C is color. Pretty sure, didn't I make it color? I did. So really it's just thickness, blend mode, color. Yep. Last pixel still left to call. And I will make a couple of functions. One of them will be set line. It'll just be set, because this is inside G line. And it will accept a thickness value. It'll accept a thickness value of 1. It'll accept our color. like that to begin with. It will accept our blend mode, and it will also accept color 2 if you're setting it all up. And it'll accept D length. And it will say thickness equals T, color equals C, color 2 equals C2, blend mode equals BM, and dash length equals DL. That's pretty, I mean, all I'm doing is dividing this horrible thing into two horrible things, but that's okay. Like, mainly I'm going to be using this for setting dashed lines initially because and the reason it's ordered like this is because if I ever, these are the ones you discard if you didn't care about dashed lines. Doesn't mean you have to set them up again, mind you. Tricky. I'm not going to bother thinking about it though. Basically. Time. So in dashed, something similar does happen. So I'm going to take, I won't bother taking that first bit. Well, I will, but only because I want this. But I don't need the first bit. This first part is the same. That's where I figure out the corners of the... I've got a little rotate A snuck in there. And that's not been used in a long time, so bye. Now, the difference with dashed lines is that I am not using image material, I am using what is called CB, chessboard material, and it's CB uniforms. Because really I'm passing uniforms in there, but CB has uniforms. I hope. Should have if it's a material. Here, this is as copied from here, image X and Y, image X2, XY. These are the corners of the image that I want to, the line image, as it's defined inside that GUI texture, or material, you know, with lots of little images on it. So they're the texture coordinates of the corners as I send them in. 2 triangles worth of corners. So, it's time to draw a picture. And have a think about what numbers like dash length mean in this context. Beautiful. Be gone. So what I have is a texture, and it's a checkerboard for a reason, because it'll have other uses, but the main thing I'm going to use is a little slice of it. Because this texture repeats, I can take as long a slice as I want. I'm hoping that texture repeats. I have no actual evidence for that, and I might just wait until it's running before I find out for sure. I did see the bit with texture flags, which is what I need to look at if it turns out I'm wrong. But this texture is 1 unit wide, and in each texture unit I'm effectively getting 2 dashes, haven't I? 1, 2. even though they're, it's two different colours, but one of them's a dash, one of them isn't. When you set the dash length, do I imagine a person setting a dash length is thinking, well, I want one dash length to cover both colours? I don't think so. I think I want to know how long each aspect of the dash is. That's how I'm starting to think about it to begin with anyway. So each one unit of texture width equals 2 dashes. I do need to draw this line twice, but I'm going to figure out getting the first set of dashes in there first. It does make me think about another thing as well, which I'm not going to dwell on too much, but it might be nice to be able to set the offset of the dash so that if your line starts here and ends here, and the dashes go like on, off, on, off, on, you could have it that that same set of dashes was there. I think it makes a lot of sense to be able to do that. I'm saying it makes a lot of sense. I don't know if I'm going to bother, but particularly for situations like mine, where you've got a whole sort of succession of lines which do belong in order. Oops, that's my pen going crazy. Which do belong in order. It may go crazy again in a minute. Yeah, look at that. Probably what this means is I've got to open the pen up and fiddle with a circuit board, not in a clever way, but in a way that sort of jolts it back into life. Anyway, I guess I'm going to stop using it now until I do that. What this means, though, is that I'm not going to do this offset. Initially, at least. Oh man. Now this whole program is gone. It didn't like me undoing all those things. Oh wow, that's like one of the most sort of intense crashes. And I had made changes to this code. And I can't tell because it's hidden behind. I don't even know if FFmpeg is picking this up now because everything has gone completely dead. First off, I'm unplugging this. Right, don't know if you could hear what was going on there. Everything had gone very dead. Anyway, that was my pen really going tits up. Anyway, what I was in the middle of saying is, do I want to code in this offset? And yes, I will. Dash offset will be stored as well. And I'm going to start with it being 0. Dash offset float equals 0.0. So what do I really need to figure out? This is very like one of the grid problems or the thingamajig. The snapping problems. Because I have the start of the line, I have the end of the line, I have a length of the line, I have a desired length of dash, and I have an offset for the dash. That's not a desired length of dash, that represents an offset. So, and bearing in mind that that is one quadrant of the texture, this is another, that's back to the first quadrant of the texture, this is another. This is dash length. This is actually dash offset. Oh, wish I had my pen back now. That's dash offset. That's dash length. That is one texture width. And this this is the line length. Based on that information, what do I want? I want 4 texture coordinates. Now, 2 of them I kind of know, the Y position, because however squashed up the texture is along the line, or how scrolled along it is, it's always arranged kind of like this. With the line passing through the top 2 quadrants. Again, it's just a checkerboard because it'll have other uses as this repeating pattern. So this is like the Y positions of the, like, I know this and I know this. I know that if this is 0y, and this is 1y, and that's 0.5, then here's going to be around about 0.1, and here's going to be around about 0.4. In fact, that seems fine for y. But what about the x positions? I want, like in this case, let's say the line, one thing I start knowing is the length of the line, and let's say that the line is 50 units long. How long have I determining a dash to be if that's the case? I'll just more or less draw it to a very approximate scale. I should have decided a dash length before I started drawing it, really. What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2 bits. 50 divided by, say, 7.5. 6.666. How excellent. So that is like 6.6. Which means that this must be something like -5. Is that a good way to think about the offset? I suppose I can think about it anyway. If that is 0 on the texture, -5. So yeah, this isn't, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. But what actually, that's a deceptive thing to say though, I think. My time is getting on again. I'm just going through the process of thinking about this. I realise that this must be so tedious in a way to myself in the future, because this is just like that grid problem. I'm kind of just having to think through the same thing again, but it's just looking at it in this different frame. Anyway, I'm going to take a pause just now, but this may end up being 3 parts. No, it won't. This will be one more video, and I will persevere with just figuring out what these numbers actually mean next time.